Hey everybody, today's training video is going to be how to grind cheese. So first what we're going to do is start off by assembling the cheese grinder. So we have a few different parts here. We have the hopper, the faceplate, grinding tool. I call this the worm, and the actual blade. Okay, so what you're always going to want to make sure, and we've already done this ahead of time, is we've taken some vegetable oil and rubbed it around the ring here so it doesn't get rusted, and then also around the outer and inner of the shaft. So once that's done, what we're going to do is take our worm. You want to make sure and put the fat end into the front like that. So we're just going to slide it in. Another important factor is that on this worm here there is a little washer. You always want to make sure that washer is on there. So we're going to slide this in like so. As you can see, there's a little hole in there, and we just slide our worm in and it comes out the end just like that. Then after that, we're going to take our blade. There's two different sides to the blade. There's a flat side and there's kind of a ridge side. You can tell the difference between the two because there's writing on one side and no writing on the other. So when you put the blade on, you put the flat side down because that's the cutting edge. And as you can see, there's a little square, so you just line up the square just like so. This is our grinding blade. Grinding plate. And as you'll notice, right here, there's a little divot in the plate. That matches the little divot right here next to my finger. So we just slide the plate on and make sure that that lines up with it. It keeps the plate in place. Then we're going to take our faceplate and screw it on. Now you want to make sure when you're screwing this that it stays nice and level and not crooked. And you just wind it hand tight. You'll feel it get tight. Then we're going to bring it over here to our mixer. There's a little screw right here that loosens and tightens and holds our grinder in place. What we're going to do is we're going to slide our grinder in. There's a little knob that matches the hole right here. Okay? So that little knob just goes in like so. You have to twist it back and forth a little bit. Oh. And push it on there nice and tight. And then just tighten the little screw here, finger tight. Not too hard. Now you can take your faceplate and lock it in place. So now your grinder is set up and ready to grind cheese. Next step is we're going to take our speed, and as you can see we have it set number 2 for cheese. You're just going to raise it up to number 2. One of the most important things to remember is that you don't ever turn this handle while the machine is on, because it could really mess up the transmission. So like I said, ahead of time we're going to set that to number 2. And if you move over here, our next step is to make sure our dial is on hold. Right now there's a little white notch right here, and as you can see we're going to move it to hold. That allows the machine to constantly go without shutting off by itself. If you were to turn it here, it times is in minutes and shuts the machine off after a certain amount of time. So we're going to make sure that's on hold. You have your start and stop buttons right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to plug in our machine. As you can see on the outlet here, get up close to that, John. There's a little diagram on how this plugs in. If you look at your plug, you have to kind of line it up with that diagram. So you just insert it like so. Once you get it turned in, you want to turn just a half a quarter turn to the right. That locks it in place, so now I can't take it out. So if I want to remove it, I turn it back to the left and I can take it out. Alright, so our machine is plugged in and we're ready to go. We already have some cheese that we've portioned out here. The way we grind cheese here at Doughboys is that we use part skim and whole milk mozzarella and then a little bit of provolone. So as you can see, we have 3 halves of the skim milk, 3 halves of the whole milk, and 2 halves of the provolone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and line up my tub right underneath the grinder. I'm going to go ahead and start my machine. Kelly, can you grab me the pusher? So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little bit of each at a time. I like to put in 4 pieces of each, and all you're going to do is just set it down, and as you can see, it starts to come out like so. This is a little pusher, so if you ever get cheese backed up, you can use this to push the cheese down. Never put your fingers down in there because you can get your fingers caught and it's not safe. So we started off with the skim milk. Now we're going to move over to the whole milk. And again, as you can see, it just comes out like so. And then finally, we're going to take a few pieces of the provolone. The reason that we use the different varieties of cheese is that it gives a really great flavor during the baking process. So once all those flavors are grinded, we're going to take our cheese and we're simply going to kind of grind it up a little bit with our hands. We like to break it up like this so that it melts better on the pizza. It's called curting the cheese. They've been doing this in Italy for hundreds and hundreds of years. And we still do it here today at Doughboys. So, all we're going to do is keep repeating the process. Again, 4 pieces at a time. If you ever have a little backup, make sure you use this and not your fingers. We'll be back in just a few to show you the finished tub.